Hey guys, and welcome to the Working Money channel. With BRICS de-dollarization reaching new heights, JPMorgan has forecast an unavoidable crisis that could heavily impact the US dollar's prevalence on an international level. This coming from Michael Branch here on Twitter. I mean, we were all saying it, but now JPMorgan is officially making this prediction, okay? Over the last year, a global shift has taken place within global economics that could be set to take its toll with BRICS de-dollarization reaching new heights. This was the forecast by JPMorgan. Their CEO, Jamie Dimon, has consistently shared his warnings regarding the U.S. economy. Now he has continued that, taking an aim at the extraordinary government spending that could do irreparable harm to the country. Moreover, he notes that the fruit of the damage could be unavoidable. So what does JPMorgan have to say? JPMorgan shares grim prediction for the U.S. economy and the U.S. dollar. Throughout the last several years, two opposing realities have been unfolding. The first has seen the BRICS Economic Alliance embrace and successfully implement a more fervent growth strategy. Meanwhile, the United States has been caught up in an economic reality that appears to be deteriorating. That is only compounded by the continued de-dollarization practices that the bloc has embraced. Its emphasis has long been on lessening global reliance on the greenback and diminishing the West's dominant role in international policies. Now those two things may be on a collision course amid BRICS efforts and geopolitical concerns. JPMorgan has forecast an unavoidable crisis for the US dollar. Specifically, the firm's CEO has expressed his belief that a hard landing for the US economy is impending. Now, that is coming from the CEO from the largest bank in the United States. He's also saying stagflation was unavoidable. Therefore, he predicted that high inflation and unemployment would be a massive concern for the country. Guys, this isn't just in the United States. This is many Western countries, part of a controlled demolition to put us in line. You notice the mass immigration too. That is not just happening in the United States. It's happening everywhere. Canada is another example of that. And Europe, I mean, they've seen that for decades now. But really, the false propping up of the economy through bringing in, this immigrational component, at least in the short term, gives us the illusion that our country is growing and that our economy is doing well. But behind the scenes, we're still in a very precarious predicament here. And again, I say this in the United States, in Canada, many European nations as well. But to me, I mean, I believe this is part and parcel of the Great Reset. It also seems like they're waging a war on Western cultures, traditions, and values, bringing our standard of living. I mean, overall, the standard of living of Western countries has been coming down slowly but surely. Even though it appears that we're getting great new stuff, right? Technically, though, we're not actually living better lives, guys. And it's not all one factor or another factor. There's so many things involved in this. But trade, GDP, these nations are really growing by leaps and bounds, deciding, okay, we do not need the United States anymore, especially not the US dollar. So we can conduct trade in and amongst ourselves and leave a large part of the Western world out of this for all intents and purposes. So I could see why, JPMorgan is forecasting this. Another great one here from Michael regarding VeChain. VeChain shines at Amazon Web Services. So Amazon is a partner of Ripple, but this has to do with Amazon Web Services in China. Their Summit Energy Forum in Shanghai. They're ready to lead the sustainability industry. So VeChain, the latest partner here, according to an update on VeChain's official website, the company recently took center stage at the Amazon Web Services China Summit Energy Forum in Shanghai. This prominent event within the energy sector showcased how cloud services and generative AI can propel enterprises towards not only global expansion, but also towards achieving zero carbon and sustainable development goals. So another talking point there for global elites discussing the climate crisis and these things that can help alleviate some of that. I mean, whether you believe it or not is a whole other story, maybe for another video. During the summit, VeChain, a key participant and collaborator with AWS, introduced its comprehensive digital carbon management solution, vCarbon. So we've heard about vCarbon previously. Set to launch on the AWS marketplace, vCarbon aims to enhance global accessibility and efficiency in carbon management. Blockchain expert and crypto community influencer Colin Brown also highlighted this development in a recent tweet, applauding VeChain's efforts in fostering sustainable futures. And here's the Colin Brown tweet. I will link this in the description of the video. But showing you guys, another company here, VeChain, another blockchain company that is, really improving sustainability efforts over there in the East. Now, I almost feel like VeChain is, once we do see a real world setting for cryptocurrencies, VeChain is almost like that hedge against the Western crypto projects. I think it's going to do well based on its own merits. in a spec market. Now, I said this in the past. I think VeChain, I mean, it has proven to move very, very fast. It still has to go up 672% to get back to its former all-time high. So, at the moment, a very attractive price point too for a cryptocurrency that not only has a promising future when it comes to real-world adoption, but also a very good pick, I think, for a spec market crypto, one that I could see making huge gains in the coming months. VeChain is one of the only coins, actually the only coin that's part of my legacy portfolio and the $15,000 plus portfolio. I invested $15,000 over there at patreon.com, and we're going to see how these coins do. We're looking for high flyers. I'm looking at 100x these sons of guns. Let's hope. Fingers crossed. For more information, you can find all that at patreon.com/workingmoneychannel. David Schwartz also made the rounds over there at Consensus this past week. And here's David Schwartz. This is a clip of David explaining the roadmap in DeFi using XRP, comparing the adoption of crypto to the growth of the internet. Ripple CTO envisions the XRP Ledger being a blockchain where all these use cases can work together. This one courtesy of Good Morning Crypto.
The idea that institutions can build things that are very strictly, very tightly regulated, things like portfolios of traditional loans that are heavily regulated, but they can interoperate with DeFi systems. So, for example, you might have a regulated lender who issues very traditional real estate or commercial loans, and then you might have tokenization of that debt that then anyone can hold in a purely DeFi system. And I think if you look at the way systems grow, if you look at the way the internet grew, there was government and military adoption that enabled grassroots adoption that built the system. That synergy is what really builds something that can be dominant, that can really grow. And I think we see that corner. We see the XRP Ledger as being a blockchain where those kinds of use cases can really work.
Utter confidence there from David Schwartz, discussing the XRP Ledger. Never have they ever doubted the XRP Ledger. Now, when he's talking about this, the internet, taking the internet as an example, governments and military using the internet for specific purposes, and then it grew, and now we use it at scale from the retail level all the way up to the enterprise level. The XRP Ledger, they're looking at that, or David Schwartz is explaining that could be an option for more real-world utility solutions, and the stack will just keep getting higher and higher. There is no limit to the XRP Ledger. The scalability is enormous. So that is, that's at least what I got out of this. And I think he's right. I mean, because we have seen so much activity on the XRP Ledger, there is so much possibility. Cypress Domenicor here says, David did tweet out about DeFi the other day, and all the other influencers started making videos talking about how bullish this is for XRP. Well, I mean, it is bullish for so many different reasons. But he talks a little bit here about the AMMs. And I've been very clear on Working Money Channel that the AMM to me is I'm not interested in it, and I think that's okay. I'm happy that more utility is being built on the XRP Ledger, and I'm happy that it exists. But I think that they're not really doing a great job on promoting it, I guess we could say. Cypress Domenicor here saying, there's only about 460 participants. That is a sad number. And this is the number one DEX on the XRP Ledger. He says this is due to lack of education. And even though most influencers are bullish on DeFi, they don't even understand AMMs and DeFi and all that stuff. Again, I'm in this to trade. It is unfortunate, though. I mean, if you did want to participate, that there isn't more information, more clear information, I think, because, you can speak developer talk, and that's one thing. But, when it comes down to the layperson, yeah, look at that, 469 active farmers. When it comes down to the layperson, it's difficult to wrap your head around this, especially if you've been hearing horror stories about people losing their XRP because they didn't issue it correctly over the AMMs. Anyway, when it comes down to it, I guess there should be more educational resources to help promote this kind of thing because, yeah, I mean, the more demand that goes through the XRP Ledger, the more demand there will be for XRP, the native cryptocurrency, and therefore the higher the price will go eventually once we see that at scale. So just another tidbit of information here and some insight from Cypress Domenicor. Wanted to thank him for posting that. David Schwartz back on the block here at Consensus. Will the next wave of institutions revive and catalyze XRP price action?
I started working on what became Ripple in late 2011.
2011.
And the company was late 2012.
Okay, so around that time frame, there was some initial hostility that we've talked about before towards Ripple and its sort of institution-centric approach. And it does feel like things have changed. I mean, we're talking a lot about regulation. We're talking about ETFs from Blackstone, BlackRock, and all of these different entities. What does it feel like, from your seat? Do you feel like people have kind of evolved to the Ripple worldview, or, it must feel different for you, given all of that criticism you got initially?
Yeah, I think the undeniable piece of proof is stablecoins like USDC and Tether. They are as institutional a thing as you can possibly get, and yet they are what's fueling these completely decentralized economies. I think you can't deny right now that the institutional adoption is going to enable grassroots adoption and vice versa. I think the thing that we were too early on is when we were trying to bring institutions on for their payments, they weren't going to bring their customers to blockchains, right? Like if your bank is using, let's say they're using Ripple's payment technology and they're using blockchains and they're using XRP in payments. You as a customer, it's invisible to you. They're not going to bring you into the blockchain space. Yeah. What's exciting about this second wave of sort of institutional adoption is that they're either bringing their customers directly onto the blockchain or they're enabling people to do things on the blockchain.
Sure.
I think you have to accept that, like, if there's going to be mass adoption, it's going to be these sort of hand in hand.
Yeah.
The thing that I think people were skeptical about, that I think now the evidence is undeniable, is that wouldn't mean that everything would have to be regulated. I think the thing that people didn't realize is that, like, you can have a stable coin or a loan portfolio or a tokenized security that's completely thoroughly regulated. They do KYC, AML on every single customer. And yet on the back end, there's tokens that represent ownership interest or collateralization against that are completely decentralized. So that's like, we see that now.
I've been saying this too. There's the spec market, so the trading, and then there's the utility of cryptocurrencies, and they're two different things. So regulating the entire crypto business is a mammoth task. And, David Schwartz says, they're going hand in hand in some cases, but they don't necessarily have to. And, what the problem was before was bringing in retail into the entire space, or rather institutions into the entire space, whereas you can have segments of the crypto market, and he gives the example of stablecoins here, that can become regulated while the rest of the industry isn't regulated necessarily. You can have decentralized coins working in the back end on some of these applications. So I think David really hits it home here, and I feel like, maybe the industry, maybe we're too far along now, and it kind of doesn't really matter at this point. But at the end of the day, we're going to need that regulatory framework, and I feel like in stablecoins, goes back to that example of stablecoins. I think stablecoins are an important factor to bring the world into, the 21st century of technology, which is DLT platforms like XRP, like RippleNet. But in order to get that push, to start the ball rolling, to start that snowball effect, so to speak, we need to focus in on regulating certain sections of this industry, roll with it, see how it goes, and keep moving forward. And I feel like at this point, we're starting to get the ball rolling, and we're starting to make waves with the ETFs. In the video I did this morning too, Brad Garlinghouse also did talk about stablecoins as that key issue, and we know Ripple is issuing their stablecoin soon. I'll link this morning's video up here if you guys didn't catch it. But anyway, wanted to thank Crypto Insight just for bringing us that more insight on what we're seeing now for technology and the crypto industry specifically. It's all going to be very important, guys. It's going to be quintessential because we are seeing the economy collapse before our eyes. As emphasized, the global return of gold is inevitable. So going back to this idea that gold is going to be, this new placeholder, if it's not the new standard, it could, in fact, act as a placeholder in the interim before we get a new standard up and running. Black Swan Capital is here posting this. Factoring in global debt is necessary to determine the gold price needed to restore confidence in a broken system. Then, a digital representation like XRP to facilitate seamless value transmission among the institutions. Here's a clip of Jim Rickards discussing just this. Listen to this.
So if you lose confidence in U.S. government securities, for example, the U.S. dollar, you're not going to run to, German bonds or Japanese government bonds. That whole system is going to be severely impaired, in which case you may have to go back to some kind of gold standard, gold linked, gold backed in some fashion, not because you want to. There's no central bank in the world that wants to go to gold, but they may have to restore confidence. Now, if you say, okay, we have to get back to some kind of gold system to restore confidence, what would the price of gold have to be to make that system work?
Well, that's a very good question, too. The price of gold right now is sitting just below its all-time high. We recently did hit an all-time high for gold back on May the 20th. It was up near $24.50 an ounce. Right now, gold is trading at around $23.43 an ounce. So, a new gold standard would definitely bring gold up way higher than it even currently is today. If you think about how much gold there is in the world compared to how much money there is in the world, there just isn't as much. So, scarcity would definitely factor into that. But we would need something to make it work because, you can't just go around, sending gold bars over the internet to pay for something that you bought on Amazon from China, right? So, guys, that brings me back to this. Now, this is an older PDF from Martin Valk, one of our very own. Unfortunately, I have not seen much of Martin on Twitter as of late. However, I'm sure some of you guys remember him. A model presents gold pegged to XRP for international settlements. Now, he came up with this a few years ago. I don't see a way out of the new financial system rather than digital assets backed by tangible assets. So again, this is just a PDF just kind of demonstrating how this gold system could work and how XRP could help bridge that. Now, we've got a lot of things here. I will link this in the description of the video if you guys are interested. Gold price, non-deflationary price of gold in a gold-backed SDR standard. So talking about a potential SDR, or rather an ESDR, which we've talked about too in the past, that could include XRP as part of that basket. So we've also got, the BRICS countries, as I've stated earlier. China is a big player there. Monetary policy would also have to change. And there are so many other factors involved in this. Determination of the fixed rate. So all these entities would have to agree on this. And I mean, I could not even imagine what the first step would be in order to get everybody on board to even agree to something like this. The only solution I could conjure up is to actually have a system like an XRP ledger, that bridge currency, to be able to tokenize all this stuff. If we are going to start to denominate things in gold, or, even setting gold aside for a second and even just taking anything of value, right? Tokenizing anything, fractionalization. If you own real estate, let's say you own a plot of land and it's 100 acres and it's worth, $500,000. Well, if you were to take 1 acre, 500,000 divided by 100, well, 1 acre would be worth $5,000. And then you could use that $5,000 to purchase something overseas if you want to, sell off 1 acre of land. All that can be tokenized on the XRP ledger. You can, tokenize it through XRP. XRP will be used at the other end to bridge and pay in gold, for example. I mean, just depending on what the end user wants to be paying. So I get this concept. There are some naysayers, though, here, Vet, saying, folks, XRP will never be backed by gold. And I think that is the misconception here. The idea that XRP has a fair market value today, and it's going to have a fair market value depending on supply and demand fundamentals. Zach Rector here saying, XRP will not directly be backed by gold, but can we make an argument that it is backed by all forms of value put on the ledger? So that is a good point. Again, it's going to be whatever's tokenized on the ledger is whatever value XRP is going to have. The more that's being tokenized, the better it's going to be. XRP is backed by perception. That perception might increase with more value on the XRPL tokenized, correct? But not necessarily. It can sit at 50 cents while you have trillions tokenized on the XRP ledger. It's going to depend on who is moving the value, how much utility XRP is going to be used. And so I think that is the differentiating factor. That said, though, I do think that this has some credence. I think that Martin has a good theory here. I think that he is on point here. The bridge currency, a new financial system. As we're seeing, gold, we might have to go to this new gold standard because of a changing economy. The BRICS nations, as we say, even JPMorgan, is forecasting this unavoidable crisis for the US dollar. And so, guys, this is going to be tokenized on DLT technology, likely leveraging XRP for those cross-border transactions. I mean, why do you think they're making such a big deal out of stablecoins? And why do you think Ripple has also decided to create a stablecoin? All these pieces of the puzzle seem to be coming together. But that's just my opinion. I want to hear what you guys think. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Like the video if you like the content I'm providing. I always love hearing your comments. See you in the next one, guys.